Hey guys, and welcome back to another IronWill podcast with me, Shane Warner, and
Jon Chase.
So what this podcast is all about is we are trying to get stories from people that have been through a traumatic experience in their lives and came out a different person.
Yeah, they have all created an iron will. So what is an iron will? A burning determination that cannot be stopped or hindered by anything, willing to do anything to get a desired outcome, extremely resilient. So what we like to say is just keep punching.
Yeah. So sit back and relax, and we're going to start the show. And today we have Heath White on the podcast with us. And how I was introduced to Heath White was from Kevin Hooker. And if you don't know who Kevin Hooker is, you can refer back to episode 10. And
he's the main man of the main men.
Yep. And so that's where I know Heath from, because Kevin Hooker recommended Heath for the podcast. So I'm just going to kind of have Heath introduce himself. And so here he is, Heath White.
Hey, well, where do you start? Talking about Kevin, we grew up in adjacent towns and we're really good friends in high school, and I never knew about his adversity or anything. So I told him this is the ultimate revenge story. He talks about, wanting to be treated like everybody else. Well, we treated him just like everybody else in our house. So we made fun of him and picked on him and everything. So now I get to come on and talk about how I messed with him and he made him so tough.
You said something about his belly button?
Yeah, we never did see his belly button. So we always said, hey, you don't have a belly button. What's going on? And little did we know, all the surgery he had and everything. So now I feel like a big turd. But, so grew up in a small town in northeast Texas and went to Northwestern State in central Louisiana on an academic scholarship. Always was kind of a high achiever, I guess. I graduated third in my class and graduated with a 4.0 undergraduate.
That's awesome.
And went to the military and flew B-52 bombers out of my hometown.
Cool.
Was on the first wave to bomb Afghanistan after 9/11.
Oh, man.
Came back and instructed in the Air Force and married my high school sweetheart, who was the homecoming queen, head cheerleader, and got my master's again with a 4.0 in aeronautical science. So life was rocking on real good. Had our first daughter, Pepper, and then life kind of punched me in the mouth, which is I think why you guys want to talk to me today.
Yeah.
So before we get to that, so when you were younger, okay, like were you already like have the vision of being in the Air Force? Did you, what did you actually want or aspire to be?
I wanted to be Maverick. I felt the need for speed. My uncle grew up real close to him, and he retired as a colonel, an A-10 pilot, and he was into horses and cattle and everything. So he was kind of my role model for that.
That's
cool.
Awesome.
Cool.
So how many kids do you have?
3 too many. No, I have 4 too many, actually. I always say that my wife wanted to have 4 kids, and I didn't want to have any kids, so we negotiated having 4 kids. And so I have 4 daughters. I have Pepper, the first one, who's 15, and then Paisley is our second one, who has Down syndrome, and she's 13. And then Texan, who's 10, and Rebel Rose, who's 7. So 4 daughters. They're collectively known as the Crazy Sisters Cattle Company. So
man.
They work here on the farm.
Daughters are the best. I have 6. And
man.
6 daughters.
I have no right to complain. Hey, you just one up to me, or 2 up to me.
Yeah, man. It's awesome, though. I'd never trade my daughters for anything, man. They are just, awesome.
Well, it's easy what I say about them, and, I'm a big proponent of girl power, and that's our motto here on the ranch is raising tough girls and tender steaks.
Yeah.
But it's easy to underestimate them. And so, you take a girl and make her, just put a minimal amount of effort in them, and they're going to blow the doors off people.
Oh, yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about Paisley and what she's like?
Paisley is 13. She has Down syndrome. Paisley, a lot of times with Down syndrome, people say, "Oh, they're such loving children." Like, no, sometimes she is a turd. I mean, she is just like any other kid. So that's take that as a compliment on her. That we don't see the disability anymore with her, and even her swim coach has to give her some tough love. She swims in the Special Olympics, and now she swims on a integrated team. She swims also with a typical swim team.
That's
so she
awesome.
can swim better than me.
That's great.
She's about belt buckle high. She's a little we call her the dirty midget. And she loves that name, but she's just like any other kid. It takes her longer to get things, and she's stubborn as all get out, but she's kind of became the glue that holds our family together, and what everything revolves around.
Okay. So I want to talk to you about perspective and how you viewed Paisley being born with Down syndrome at first, and how your perspective changed and you saw her in a different light.
Yeah, that was a big change for me. Being a self-proclaimed hard charger, always having goals and everything, that was never in my cross check. That was never something that, I saw myself having or doing. So I really felt like it was a weakness that had manifested out of me. Coming from livestock, that if you have a bull that throws genetic abnormalities, you're going to get rid of the bull. So that's kind of how I felt. I also felt it was a punishment from God for a lot of things I had done and ways I had acted. So they say that having a child with a disability is kind of like experiencing a death. You have a vision in your head of what your child's going to be like, what they're going to do, the sports they're going to play, what y'all are going to do together. And then all of a sudden you get a diagnosis of, your child's not going to be like that. And so that child dies and is replaced with another one. So it takes a little while to bond and get your head wrapped around it. It's also the good analogy I've heard is like Christmas. You have this one present that you really wanted, and you see it over in the corner, and it's the shape and size of what you asked Santa Claus for, and then Christmas Day comes and you rip it open and it's broken. And it's sad to say, but I felt like I was getting a broken baby. So it takes a while to go through all those stages of grief, before you finally come to accept it.
For sure.
And that change came for me whenever I tickled her. She was a little bit older, and we wrestle a lot in the house and everything. So I had Paisley down on the floor, and I was tickling her, and she went to push me away with her little chubby, weak muscle tone arms, and laughed and pushed me away. And she acted just like Pepper had, and at that point, it, kind of clicked with me that she's just like any other kid, she has feelings, she has emotions, she feels and she interacts with me. And that's whenever things just, flipped on me. And I realized that it went from, why me to why not me?
Yeah. Right. So once your perspective shifted, you realized that it wasn't because you were weak in any way. It's actually, you can look at it like God's blessed you with the opportunity to learn from your daughter.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what, I mean, if it sounds egotistical now to say that, and all, but to say, like God chose me for this, he, everything that I'd gone through in my life led me up, with hard, choices and upbringing and everything, and wanting to be, a hero, always loving the action movies and that one moment in life where you get to make a huge difference and everything, that I get to have that daily with her. So it's, if you believe in a higher power, if you believe in God and everything happens for a reason, and Paisley was given to me for a reason.
Yeah, definitely. I want to talk to you about how did you come up with the idea to start running with Paisley?
I began running in college. I played high school and sports in high school and put on weight in college. So I started running to lose weight. And I'd always thought that I was slow and been made fun of because I was slow. I played offensive and defensive line at 155 pounds.
Yeah.
My coach told me they clocked me into 40 with a sundial. So I didn't know that there were endurance sports, that there were things that I have one gear, whether it's the 40-yard dash or it's 50 miles.
Yeah.
So that I finally figured that out. And I ran my first marathon on Diego Garcia after 9/11. There was nothing else to do besides drink or run. And so I wound up training for a marathon. And so I ran Boston in 2007 and had my PR there at just under 3 hours.
Wow.
And yeah, well, I came back. I was telling some redneck buddies about that. And they said, how long did it take? I was like 2 hours and 58 minutes.
Yeah.
They said, boy, I don't want to do anything that feels good for 2 hours and 58 minutes, much less run.
I can't even watch a movie for that long without falling asleep.
I know. So about mile 20, I passed Rick and Dick Hoyt, the pioneers of, inclusion and running. I didn't know their story at the time. All I thought of was, man, if running a marathon doesn't suck enough, you're going to do it pushing somebody.
Yeah.
Like, wow,
Yeah.
that's a huge suck factor. But I wound up learning their story and everything. And so that's where my inspiration from that came from. And I just want to give them credit right now. There's multiple people who do this, and there's an entire group, Ainsley's Angels. I encourage you to look them up. They're all over the country. I always give him credit and use the Isaac Newton statement that if I've seen farther than other people, it's because I stood on the shoulders of giants, and he's a giant, in it.
That's great.
So I wanted it was a way to get her out there and let people know that I was proud of her, and that this happens to all walks of life, all families, and it's not something you can be a typical normal family with a child with special needs.
Yeah,
right.
Of course, sure. And that special need could be anything. Like you could have a child and he could get a brain injury or a spinal cord injury, and then he's disabled and you have to relearn how to adapt and overcome.
Right.
I've run with that exact scenario. The chair that I run with is a very expensive chair, and a church in South Dakota bought it for us. And the preacher came down to Miami, and his nephew had a traumatic brain injury on a farm in Florida. And so they came down to Miami, and we pushed him in a marathon. So tons of cerebral palsy. It's anything. It's just, getting them out and giving them a chance for people to cheer for them and to have a day in the sun.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it sounds like a great way to give back to your community. And I imagine with Paisley's Angels, you're a part of that, right?
Yes.
So
they've started a local chapter of it, and like I said, it's nationwide, and they'll pair up runners with physically challenged athletes, and you just get to go out and spend some time with them, and you're going to run anyway. Run with somebody.
Yeah.
So would you say that is what makes you feel accomplished? Like, I'm sure you have multiple other things to be feeling accomplished by, but like being a fighter pilot and owning a successful cattle ranch. So, but is that the main thing that sticks out in your mind that makes you feel accomplished?
Not really. I need them way more than they need me is what I've come to realize.
Yeah.
That in the beginning, I did feel like, hey, look at this delicate flower and what I can do for them. But dude, they go through so much more crap than I could ever deal with.
I can kind of see your point in that, because that is kind of your ego talking. Yeah.
But now the byproduct of that, what makes me feel accomplished is when my kids get it. When Pepper, my oldest, she now pushes Paisley whenever I push other people.
Yeah.
And just last week, she does a morning Camp Gladiator, and they posted a pretty good article about her.